An East County woman turns to online dating during the pandemic and loses everything. She's not the only one, as scammers preyed upon thousands, taking them for hundreds of millions of dollars.
Young and healthy, a local man chose to wait to get his COVID vaccine. The recent experience that he says now has him signing up to get one right away.
Plus, the Positively San Diego podcast by a local nurse that's been helping hundreds of people deal with the pressures of the pandemic.
ABC 10 News at 6 starts now.
Online dating is nothing new, but it saw a resurgence during the pandemic. And as people turn to the internet to find love during a pandemic, many are learning it can come with a high price. Good evening. I'm Kimberly Hunt.
And I'm Steve Atkinson. Our ABC 10 News reporter Jennifer Kastner spoke to a Lakeside woman with severe disabilities who says that she lost everything to an online lover.
According to the FTC, people lost $300 million to romance scams in 2020. That's a 50% jump from the year before. The woman you're watching is Margie McClellan from East County. She's got a severe hearing impairment and other physical disabilities. We met her at Lake Murray, where she described her hurt and anger.
I'm very hurt, very angry, very upset.
Last summer, McClellan joined an online dating platform. The widow was looking for love during the pandemic when she got a match. We're not showing his face since the real man's identity was likely stolen.
She was very excited in the beginning, and I was excited for her. But then she became very quiet about the relationship, saying it's very private, and he doesn't want me discussing it with anyone.
Close friend Trish Testa said McClellan and the new man never met. They only texted.
She thought she was going to be moving to Las Vegas with him.
They started making plans for the future.
She put the house up for sale. Her family had contacted the realtor and told her to please try and not sell it. But the realtor said, I can't do that. I've been hired by her and I could lose my job.
But just as many online dating scams go, he wrote to her that he suddenly had to leave the country to take care of family affairs. Then he became ill with COVID-19.
He got sick. He got a COVID.
She had already mailed him money, and soon he disappeared.
I can mail about a check, get money mailed a check.
So basically she doesn't have any money. She doesn't have a house. She's homeless.
The grief so overwhelming to relive, she put her head down and sobbed.
Someone that's being victimized, they're not the lone victim of that criminal, of that fraudster. They are probably one of many.
Special Agent Bill McNamara is with the FBI in San Diego. He confirmed that agents and analysts have received McClellan's case through IC3, the Bureau's Internet Crime Complaint Center. This is a clip from one of the FBI's podcasts recorded in February.
So, according to the IC3, more than 23,000 people were victims of romance scams in 2020. And during that year, people lost more than $600 million. And it's likely that many more scams actually went unreported.
Just last September, the FBI announced that a Nigerian national was convicted for a money laundering conspiracy related to a romance scam and other fraud schemes.
She refused to believe she was being scammed. She was completely brainwashed by him.
Everything online, everything online.
He showed her a bank statement showing that he had millions.
Experts say spoofing technology enables scammers to stay hidden.
So part of the issue is the victim doesn't even know where the subject is residing or where the subject is contacting them from. So when they relay that information to law enforcement, they're not even sure where the perpetrator is.
Despite the challenges in tracking down perpetrators, the FBI still wants victims to file reports through IC3 so agents can look for common threads. McClellan is aware that she may never get justice. Her warning, be careful, so much of what's online is fake.
You never know. All the fake picture, all fake profile, all fake everybody name. Just be careful.
The La Mesa Police Department confirmed that it's also investigating McClellan's case. The FBI has a number of resources available to avoid these situations. We have a link to that on our website, 10news.com, under this story. Jennifer Kastner, ABC 10 News.
Investigators are still working to figure out what started a house fire in Chula Vista that claimed the lives of 2 children. Neighbors say they woke up around midnight to the sounds of screams at a house at the end of their cul-de-sac on Coralwood Court in flames.
There was flames on the top of the house. The fire just went from like underneath and just went right up out the windows. It was like unbelievable. You know, the swirling, the roaring sound.
Firefighters were on scene within minutes of getting that call. Sadly, 2 boys did not make it out of that home alive. Their father was taken to the burn center after trying to put out the flames himself. Turning now to coronavirus in San Diego County, there were more than 220 new cases reported today. That accounts for just 1% of all tests given yesterday. And for the second time this week, the county did not report any new deaths from the virus.
I think me believing that being young and strong and in great shape, that I thought this, it wouldn't affect me this way. It's not true.
A Carlsbad man who just tested positive for COVID is opening up about his vaccine regrets. As ABC 10 News reporter Michael Chen found out, his painful COVID battle has changed his mind about getting the vaccine.
Robin Banks felt the first symptom last Friday night.
I had like a slight headache. I didn't really think much of it.
Over the next few days, the headache got worse.
Felt like I had a metal clamp on my head and I couldn't think straight, couldn't really see, hear, or eat. I couldn't really move my body.
Banks says he got a fever and started having trouble breathing.
Realizing I couldn't really take deep breaths. Felt like I had some weight on my chest.
Banks was bedridden for nearly 4 days.
It was one of the worst feelings I've had ever.
Before he started feeling a little better Wednesday when he went to a hospital and tested positive for COVID. The positive test comes 3 weeks after Banks qualified to receive the COVID vaccine.
I didn't really know much about it, so I thought maybe wait a little bit and see how that goes.
Banks says he was hesitant about getting the vaccine.
To me, it seemed really rushed, and it seemed like, there could be a lot of effects that happen later on in the future that we won't know about.
The 27-year-old Banks, who runs and works out every day, also wasn't too worried about contracting COVID, though he has taken all the precautions in his work as a handyman.
Me believing that being young and strong and in great shape, that I thought this, it wouldn't affect me this way. It's not true.
While his vaccine concerns haven't completely disappeared, he now plans to get a vaccine as soon as he's able to.
I do regret not getting the vaccine early because I would not want to go through this. I would not want to go through what I'm going through right now. And any step we could take towards ending this virus is a good step.
Michael Chen, ABC 10 News.
Vaccine supply has officially surpassed demand in San Diego County. More than 3 million doses have been administered so far. County leaders say they're now focused on making vaccines more accessible. They're extending hours at centers in Oceanside, Chula Vista, and El Cajon through 8 p.m. And they're also adding mobile locations and partnering with local businesses to make getting the appointment as easy as possible. You can find our in-depth reporting on the vaccines as well as resources for where you can get one on the ABC 10 News app. You can find it for free in the App Store.
He was thought to be the oldest surviving veteran of Pearl Harbor, and today he was laid to rest. The community gathered at El Cajon Sacred Heart Church to remember Clayton Schinkelberg. He was 103 years old when he passed away last month. He was in the Navy serving as a torpedo man at a submarine base when Pearl Harbor was attacked. He did survive and served 20 more years in the Navy.
While new border wall construction has been halted by the Biden administration, the border fence in Calexico is seeing new updates to the existing barrier with some added sheets of metal. Our partners at KPBS say the added security measures are part of Border Patrol's tactical infrastructure funds. Border Patrol says the added metal sheets will protect agents from rocks and other objects that are thrown over the barrier. In recent weeks, the area has also seen an increase in people getting injured while trying to climb the fence.
And they'll slide down or fall, lose their grip, and obviously they'll have traumatic injuries. It seems like in the last 2 weeks we've been seeing them quite often, almost back to back.
The Border Patrol El Centro sector says agents apprehended more than 12,000 people in 2020. That number has more than doubled to over 30,000 this year, with 5 months still remaining in the fiscal year.
And for the second year in a row, the Miramar Air Show will not happen. MCAS Miramar says the 2021 show has been canceled because of COVID-19. It's still a public health risk. Instead, the base's commanding officer says they will use this time to get an early start on planning next year's show. The air show had been scheduled for the weekend of September the 24th and typically brings in about 500,000 visitors over 3 days. And today we are kicking off National Nurses Week. ABC 10 News is sharing stories of hope and inspiration from the front lines. Today we meet Killen Miller, a nurse whose podcast, The Anxious RN, has helped hundreds of people cope with the pressures of the pandemic. Since October, Miller has produced 19 episodes talking to mental health experts and other doctors and nurses from around the world about the challenges they have faced over the past year.
They talk about what they're dealing with, and I'm like, oh my gosh, I feel that same way, or I've dealt with that too. And then you're like, I'm not crazy. This is something that everyone's feeling.
Kaylin says that a few hundred people download each episode, more than she ever imagined. She says finding this community has already helped her deal with anxiety and depression. If you have a story that is positively San Diego, we'd like to hear from you too. Send us an email to tips@10news.com. You can also join our ABC 10 News Positively Facebook group, where you can share your stories with other San Diegans.